Okay, we're at the top of the hour, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to everyone. Happy New Year. Hope everybody had great holidays. 2025. Wow, last year sort of flew by, so we'll see what happens this year. But again, thank you for joining the Platform Analytics Academy on today, January the 8th. A couple of quick housekeeping things that, of course, we always share, and then we'll get directly into our content. If I can get everything to work right. There we go. All right. So, as usual, these are always for you. We try as hard as we can to bring fresh ideas, better understanding, and practical guidance as it relates to platform analytics, performance analytics reporting, things of that nature. This is obviously going to be recorded. It will be out on the community and on YouTube later on today, if not tomorrow. So please feel free to sit back, relax, and enjoy yourself, because you'll have this later on to do with as you need. Q&A, please ask questions. Please ask those in the Q&A if you can, so we can keep record of those. I do have quite a few panelists that are actually on today, so hopefully we can get a lot of questions answered as they come in. If there is a question that's relevant to where we are in the data or in the content, then we'll stop and we'll try to get that answered as well. So Safe Harbor, I don't necessarily know if there's anything in here today, but there always could be. There could be a comment from one of the panelists during an answer or things like that. So please keep that in mind. And I didn't know exactly who was coming today, but I knew that these four were coming, and we have a couple extras as well. So I am Thomas Davis. I am the host and the presenter today. We have Dan, Marta, and Olga, and of course, Adam and Tara. And Adam and Tara, forgive me, but I do not have a picture of you today. So I owe you a steak dinner at some point. So today we're going to talk about getting started with ServiceNow Platform Analytics. We felt it was sort of necessary to, especially with us having some net new customers, perhaps in Xanadu, where Platform Analytics is their first taste of Platform Analytics, it would be important to sort of help them with some best practices and some things to think about or whatnot as it relates to platform analytics. So some of you may find this to be elementary, but I think even still in the cases where we have sessions that are like this, it still does generate a lot of questions. So it could be a refresher for some of you that are on as well. But if you are new to platform analytics, this is really sort of geared to you. But again, you may actually get something out of it if you are already familiar with platform analytics. So, as with everything, the same thing, the way it was with performance analytics, we always want to make sure, or you always want to make sure that you plan and prepare for when you decide to start using platform analytics. Defining goals is obviously very important, no matter what you are doing it with, and we want to make sure that you understand what you're trying to measure and assess. So, keeping that in mind is pretty important as well. Identify those business processes that you actually want to measure, and then, of course, determine the factors and behaviors that affect the health of those particular business processes. So, thinking about those things will help you obviously decide on the metrics that you actually, are going to choose to measure. And we do have a really great tool, KPI Composer. KPI Composer has been around for a few years. It really hasn't changed a whole lot. But when you think about it, the way that we like to think about it is sort of that whiteboard for you to really sort of think about how you want to, launch platform analytics, what you want to measure with it, all the, again, like I said, the business processes. So using KPI Composer to sort of, like I said, have that whiteboard where you can write those things out or whatnot and get a great idea of potentially how you want to create anything that's new or use the existing things that are out there. And we did do a session a couple years ago. It hasn't really changed. We are actually putting it on the roadmap to redo that session, but we did do a session that can help you walk through that as well. So again, think about it as a whiteboard, a way of just for you to sort of create and think, lay out how you actually want to use platform analytics when you start using it. So again, it's a really great tool that is at your fingertips to definitely use that. Panelists, please feel free to stop me at any time if we have any questions that we want to answer. I do see that they're coming in, so just let me know, Dan, if you can.
Sure.
Are we good
I
right
just
now to keep
wanted
going?
I just wanted a quick real clear out just to see if there's any more if it's more of a general question. I saw someone and Chris and Junaid had their hand raised, and I want to see, did you have a question to ask, or is it more of like logistics? So I'll
I
let you
think they were
talk here.
just saying howdy.
Okay. Okay.
I don't
So
know.
yeah. Yeah. So Junaid, let's see, I turned on the ability for you to unmute yourself if you want, if you do have something to ask us. If it's more about like the content, if you would put that in the Q&A panel, please. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, sounds good. So another thing that actually Dan, Tara, and myself did a couple years ago, but we still find it to be definitely relevant, is our Platform Analytics Pro Tips. And basically, what this is fireside chat between the three of us, where we talk about these particular topics right here. So again, you can see what is KPI Composer. We talk in depth about that, and these are little, short 3, 4, 5 minute videos where we actually just talk about, what is the purpose of Platform Analytics. Do you have a design strategy when you start thinking about it? How do you build the right team? Any tips or tricks for housekeeping, things of that nature. So again, if you're just starting out and you want to hear from some people that have really been around it for quite a few years, then this would be a great little, like I said, 5 minute video for you to listen to sort of help you ramp up as you start that actual process. Um, Another great tool that has really leapt and went off in the last year or so is Impact. So if you are an Impact customer, using the accelerators that are out there for you would be a great way to really bring yourself up to pace really, really fast. And there are three currently that are out there. So jumpstart your platform analytics, tune up your platform analytics, and for anybody who is a user, obviously prior to Xanadu, a jumpstart to for migration of platform analytics. And this actually will be the session that we'll do in 2 weeks. We have that team that is coming on, and they're going to talk about impact as it relates to the platform, and then of course also the platform analytics accelerators that are out there. So again, if you are an impact customer or if you are looking to be an impact customer, then I would highly suggest that you're on in 2 weeks where you can get a really good insight into what impact the impact team can do for you. So looking forward to that definitely. So if you have platform analytics and you are a standard user, when you go to dashboard, there are around I believe 31 that dashboards that are already out there for you. Any user can create a dashboard, but there are some that are out of the box, and obviously that will continue to get bigger. I know that the Pro license has a little bit more, but with the standard, that's what you're actually able to see. And of course, there's a link here, and all of the links that are on all of these slides will obviously be shared inside of the community event as well. But knowing what you have, so obviously when you go to the filter navigator and search for platform analytics, you'll see dashboards, and when you click on that, that's what you'll see. Now, obviously, as you start creating them or other users create them, then these will actually be there'll be more of them there, so you could actually see what is yours, maybe what's been shared with you, and of course all and things of that nature. But this by default is probably what you're going to see if you are a standard users. And then of course for indicators, so there's about 171 that you'll see if you're net new with Xanadu. And again, if you're a standard user, you can modify existing indicators, but you can't create any new ones. And that would be the same thing for the indicator source. So if you're curious what indicator source and indicators are, so when you create, when you want to try to start pulling data into data visualizations to put on your dashboards, you have to create an indicator source, and that's basically pointing to the table that you want to use, and then any sort of conditions that you may have on that. And then an automated indicator or a formula indicator can point to, well, an automated indicator will point to indicator sources. Formula indicators would point to existing automated indicators that are out there. But the big thing to take away from this is there are a lot that are out of the box. Throughout the years, we as ServiceNow have become pretty clear on the ones that are almost needed almost all the time. I'm not going to put a percentage to it, but 171 of those that obviously have been added throughout the years of ones that customers use pretty regularly, and obviously the are used in some existing dashboards and data visualizations, things of that nature. So, but again, if you are a standard license, you can modify any of the existing ones, but creating the new ones, you wouldn't be able to do that. But if you are a pro SKU, then you could definitely do that. And the best way to find that out would be to get with your account rep, and they can definitely let you know about that. So with breakdowns, it is the same thing. So here's some ones that are out of the box. I think it's 107, if I can read that, that are out there. So again, any one of those could be used with the unified filter inside of a dashboard itself. But again, if you are a standard SKU, then you can modify any of them, but you couldn't create new ones. And the same thing, if you're pro, you could definitely create some of those. How are we doing, Dan? Are we good?
Yes, yeah, I think we just had one comment from so let's see, because there's one I think I wanted to answer live. Oh, it's just about the platform analytics on in Washington in government environment, and there should not be any issue with that. Platform analytics is really just the it's just the new branding and a new front end interface for performance analytics and reporting put together. So it really shouldn't change your access from a government perspective. There'd be other features like user experience analytics and some of those that still vary between but government instances versus others, but it should not be to get to platform analytics in general should be fine for you.
Yeah,
And I think that's it for the moment.
that's it.
But we're working on a bunch of other questions though, so go
Okay,
ahead.
great. Thank you. So kind of just to backtrack a little bit, which that question, Dan, made me think. So if you are a previous performance analytics and you've migrated over to platform analytics, and maybe this is your first time, we have quite a few sessions that we did last year, and obviously we will continue with those throughout this year. But there are a lot of sessions that we did last year that talk about that migration into platform analytics. And obviously, there's a session that's on migration itself. And of course, we really tried to highlight a lot of the things that you'll see within platform analytics, the inline editor, the technical editor via UIB, if you were going to do something like that, filters, the way that filters work, and things of that nature. But like Dan said, you shouldn't have any issues in that specific use case. But obviously, if you do, then just hit us up in the community, or now support can help you with that if you find that something's not working the way that it should be. So. Another thing that you want to make sure that you have installed is Now Assist for Creator. And obviously, there's quite a few things that come with Now Assist for Creator, but the main thing that, from a platform analytics perspective, that we want to make sure that we can use is the data visualization. That way, you can use the Gen AI that is part of platform analytics to actually ask it to create visualizations for you. So you want to make sure that you have that installed. Obviously, with each release, this will get better and more things will be added to it. But the big thing right now is being able to ask it to create a data visualization for you. And then, of course, you can add that directly to a dashboard. But definitely come to sessions in the next couple months, especially when we do What's New in Yokohama. And there should be some new things that come with that safe harbor as well. So make sure that you have Now Assist for Creator installed as you start using platform analytics, so you can obviously leverage more things out of it. Yeah. So real quick, I want to kind of transition into the way that you should think about how you're going to use things inside of platform analytics. So obviously, activating the out of the box dashboards that are there, which I showed you some of the ones that were there before. And when I mean activate, I really mean, collecting scores for data visualizations that are on those, turning on those collections jobs, and then reviewing all of those out of the box data artifacts to make sure that they're giving you the numbers that you anticipate that you should be getting. So any existing indicator sources or indicators, or any additional conditions that may be at the source level or the indicator level. And of course, the same thing with the sources, the breakdown sources, and of course, breakdown mapping. And we'll talk about those a little bit more here in a second, but making sure that you have all of this. So looking at the dashboard that you want to use, reviewing those and make sure those are the ones that you want to use. And of course, the sources and indicators and breakdowns that are populating those, and for the unified filters. And of course, collect those scores, right? Run the historical scores collection, and then scheduling that data, that daily score collection that you're going to have. And of course, after all that is said and done, then obviously check the results. So look at the dashboard, look at the data visualizations, make sure that they're giving you the numbers and it looks the way that you expect it to look. And then, of course, clicking into that and going to the analytics center and making sure that it's giving you the information that you expect it to do. So that's a good practice for anything that you're going to do as it relates to the dashboards is sort of going through that process and making sure we anticipate that they'll be exactly fine for you, but obviously data and the way that you look at it is different with every organization. So just make sure that you're looking at all of those before you actually say to your the customers within your organization that this is ready. So you have to be the ones that know that data and make sure that it's representative the way that it should be for that information. So again, as we talked about the out of the box data artifacts, we were talking about the sources and indicators. So if you're not familiar, so basically your source is going to be the table that you're going to be looking at, and there you're gonna is it going to give you a count? Is it going to give you a sum? Depending on what you're actually looking at. And in this particular case here, we can see that the SysID is a account, and then the reassignment, for example, would be a sum. So how many times it's actually been reassigned. So, and then a formula indicator, the average number of reassignments of incidents closed today, you can use that. And then, of course, it's the facts table. Make sure that you're looking at that facts table and what it means to you. So the source is created first, and then your automated indicator would be created off of that source. Again, you can apply conditions to the source, and you can also apply conditions to the indicator. What I've always tried to tell customers is identify that one unified indicator source that's going to work for a lot of different automated indicators, and let your if you're going to let your customers create indicators, help them by letting them know this is the indicator source that you should be using. Again, they can apply additional conditions at the automated indicator, but at least that one true source of information is the indicator source that you have created. Obviously, people will continue to, if you allow them to create their own sources and their own indicators, and that's fine. But from a governance perspective, telling them what indicator source is they should be using is a really good rule of thumb. And then, of course, formula indicators will use multiple indicators to populate themselves. So understanding what indicator and indicator sources are is really, really important. And obviously, there's some links here where you can look at automated indicators and formula indicators. And I'll make sure that there's one for indicator sources as well. And then with breakdown sources and breakdown mappings, this is really important to understand the way that this works. So when you create a breakdown source, you also need to make sure that you create a mapping. And basically, a mapping is going to associate whatever table in this example, the facts table is incident, the breakdown mapping to incident. If there's an assignment group, obviously in the incident, then it'll want to point to most likely the sys user group. And then if there's a priority or whatnot, there's obviously a sys choice table for that as well. So know the mappings and what they, reference the table, choice list or whatnot, bucket group if you do that. But understanding the way the breakdown sources and breakdowns work is really, really important, especially when you decide to create them or even open up and let other people within your organization create those. And we have done some academies around creating breakdowns, and I'll make sure that those are referenced as well. But obviously, the docs are a really good source of that particular information as well. Dan, do we need to stop there? Are we good?
There were a couple things I think we should that I did that I wanted to address
Sure.
live here. So let's see, where are the ones you would like to answer this question live? Okay. The one person just asked about just and I where can we get or see content on the Jumpstart Your Platform Analytics? Is that still coming up? Are you still
Yeah, that actual session, we'll have a session in 2 weeks from now where we talk about those accelerators. But the link for Jumpstart Your Platform Analytics will be in the community event. It's in this prezo, but it will be in the community event as well. And obviously, if you go to the docs now and search for Jumpstart Your Platform Analytics, then you'll actually be able to go directly to that doc site. But we will have a session in 2 weeks where that team will come on and actually show it.
Yeah. Then just as a reminder, that is part of the impact offering. So that's
Correct.
all part of the impact offering. That's with those sessions. There's another question is asking about this is Bim Rao. Say, are we not allowed to create new breakdowns? You should be able to, and the only time I would say that you wouldn't be able to create a new breakdown is if you don't have a pro license for the application that's
Not much.
involved there.
If
But
you don't have the pro license, you can't create new indicators. You're not entitled to create new indicators, and it might block you from doing it. But breakdowns,
Mhm.
I think you actually can always. I thought you could always create new.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay, no, I think it's a good clarification.
And definitely, if you're entitled, you can, and that's a very normal thing to do. Um,
Marta, because I thought we talked about this. Marta, is that the case or not the case?
I can try quickly on an instance.
Breakdowns are different, I think is what Adam's saying, and I think
yeah,
that's right.
Okay, well, yeah, forgive me on that.
Indicators for sure are limited to what you're licensed for from a pro perspective. So like HR tables for HR Pro, you can create indicators on HR tables and that, but breakdowns, I don't believe have that limitation. So good. Okay.
Okay.
There's another question about Creator Assist. Is the Creator Assist AI a separate license or already part of Platform Analytics? It's actually almost the other way around. Analytics on its own does not give you any of the Now Assist or Creator Assist capabilities. You would actually license Creator Assist, the various assist tools, and then when I license for an assist tool, then the analytics pieces that are the come then become available to you, and then are get installed on your instance. Uh,
and the product that we sell is Creator Pro Plus. Creator Pro Plus. If you're interested in adding those assist features, talk to your account rep about Creator Pro Plus, which unlocks data visualization generation as well as flow generation, playbook generation. Basically everything that when you're building new things, that's what Creator Pro Plus enables.
okay, good.
And
Marta,
to
just
Yeah, and to go back to the breakdowns, and we'll definitely verify even more, but she just did it on a new instance and was not. So we'll get more information about that when I publish this out there. I'll make sure that I put a blurb about that, and we'll figure out the exact 100% answer on that. But it looks like maybe it changed or whatnot, but we'll definitely find that out. Marty, anything
there's
you want
one
to add to that?
No, nothing more from my side. This is just what I was able to quickly test, but we will verify better.
There
Okay.
was a couple that were similar to this, so I'd want to answer this live as well. Just identifying what artifacts like dashboards and indicators are out of the box and new for platform analytics. That is really driven by the application that the content is created for. So, for example, if you have CSM Pro, you would go to the CSM documentation in the doc site to find the analytics content that's available for it. That's So there is one page that does give you a central, but it's it's not, unfortunately, it's not updated very on a very timely basis. So really the best way to find what content is available to you out of the box is to go to the docs for the given application, ITSM, HR service delivery, CSM. Generally, if you do a search in the docs for analytics for, and then fill in with the blank for whatever your application is, you should generally find what's available out of the box for that application. I don't know if anyone else want to add anything to that. Okay. Okay, good.
Anything else, Dan?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. So all the other ones okay. So, quickly want to just talk about collecting scores and the way that you should think about those. So, historical data is run once. It's generally always manual, and then daily jobs or hourly, daily, weekly, whatever, how often that you actually need to run those, you would schedule those and automate those to run however often that you need them to run, and of course, however much particular data that you need to look at. But the big thing is historical data obviously is ran once. A couple other things to think about as it relates, if I can get, yeah, we go, as it relates to historical. So limitations on historical. So if you're retrieving, if you're trying to retrieve accurate historic scores on open records, that's going to be a little bit difficult because that record is changing. And then, of course, for indicators that are based on conditions of fields, which the value will change during the life cycle of the open record, it can be difficult, obviously, to report on that correctly with historical information. And then, of course, for indicator breakdown combinations that have breakdowns on fields that the values will change during the life cycle of an open record will be tough as well. You can get into metrics and things of that nature to actually capture that information, but historic scores collections are really not geared for that. So just make sure that you keep that in mind and you're aware when you decide to start creating those data collection jobs. Another thing, obviously, to familiarize yourself with is the platform analytics roles. There are a few of them and what their actually function are. So if you are the particular person within your organization that's going to govern who gets those particular roles, then I would definitely recommend that you vamp up on all of this information. We did do an academy session that talked about in depth with roles, and it wasn't necessarily just platform analytics. It talked about performance analytics and reporting, but there is a section that actually talks about platform analytics roles itself. So being aware of those so you can decide which roles you want to give to the users that are either helping you create or monitor or edit or whatnot. And then, of course, people that just happen to be viewing those particular things. So obviously, we have some really good training that is out there, and this keeps getting added to quite often. But obviously, the platform analytics overview, fundamentals, advanced. And then, of course, if you want to get certified in platform analytics, you can definitely do that with the platform analytics implementation specialist. And those get added to with obviously the releases that we have. So utilizing the training that is out there, utilizing the previous academy sessions and the existing new academy sessions that we have is always a way to keep you abreast of how to do things. And I always say that the community is probably one of the best just because it's not only us as ServiceNow employees that are answering out there, it is gurus that have been doing this for a long time, customers, some really great customers that are answering as well. So that's a really good source for you to get information and ask questions if you can't figure something out. I would always recommend that you search the community before you ask the question. Really good chance, probably a really good percentage chance that a question that you're asking has probably already been asked and already has an answer that's out there. So make sure that you are searching through the community before you actually ask that question. And then, of course, the Docs site. Docs is a really great place to get information, and that is generally updated through release. If a release happens that maybe there's not anything new, it may not get updated, but it's generally updated with every release that comes out. So again, the big thing with this session today was to kind of just, get you started, the thinking about platform analytics, understanding what indicators are, what breakdowns are, the sources for both of those, what you're expected to see based on a particular license that you have. And obviously, we have some gray area with one of those, and we'll figure that out. But, and again, there are existing academies that we have, especially from last year and latter part of the year prior, where we have talked heavily about platform analytics because that is, that's the direction that we're at and going. So, make sure that you're taking advantage of all the tools that we have out there for you. And we do, of course, have a platform analytics community area of the community where we have best practices and things of that nature, frequently asked questions and things of that nature. So make sure that you're utilizing that as well. And we do have time for some questions, either that were related to what we were talking about today, or if we have some open ones. Do we have any that are flagged for live right now?
I didn't see any here
So
yet.
I did want to ask though, can you remind everyone when did Platform Analytics, what release was that available in, like the first iteration? Was that
T.
So go ahead, Dan. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Tokyo. Well,
Tokyo?
it was Tokyo.
Someone was asking about skipping
Yeah.
releases or something, and so I think since it's been available, it should be okay.
Yeah,
It's just that the migration tool did not start until Washington,
right.
but the application itself has been around since T.
So what was the difference between who can create new indicators, breakdowns, who can modify existing out of the box ones, and who cannot do either. So again, based on the license that you have, so if you are a standard license, then new indicators themselves cannot be created for any user because it is a licensing issue. And then if you have a pro, then whoever you decide to give the role to actually create those can create those. And then who cannot do either? That's a good question, Marta. Who cannot do either?
Can you repeat this
Yeah,
point?
so what's the difference between who can create new indicators breakdowns and who can modify existing out of the box ones and who cannot do either? I've
S-
answered who when you can and you can't, but
Well,
based on license, but who can't do
by
either is
by default you
interesting.
can't, right? I mean, ServiceNow is a system where you grant permissions, so all of those things require roles. Uh,
Yeah.
Breakdowns and indicators come with the PA. You don't need PA admin. There's a lesser role. Power user. Power user. I think you'd be
Yeah.
able to do all that stuff except for data collectors. But you'll have access to do that. And the other thing I'd want to point out too, I think we have a couple governance sessions that go into that a little bit more detail. But the thing I'd want to look at is not global. Global scares me in a lot of our situations at this point in time. So I really like to focus in on scopes and having the delegated access for reporting, which should give you access to do these things for the most part, so that I can work on just my HR analytics, just my IT analytics, although a lot of those times those are in global, and not do the global roles, but certainly the PA underscore roles are where you're going to pick up what you can do. And power user is a pretty meaty one. And then admin takes you to the next level to do everything. There are other finer grain ones with targeting or just the data collectors, but power user and admin, I think, are probably the two most common ones I'd see to give you access to modify those things, but be wary. Reporting, you can break your report. That's fine. I can fix it. If you misconfigure performance analytics, somebody modified, not that I've seen this one, but the one I've seen, somebody went in and modified a data source or an indicator and added a filter to just show me my stuff. And I stopped collecting data for everybody else. So make sure that people you're giving access to for even power user have gone through some training. I know a lot of our successful customers have their own, right? So you can send them to Now Learning. They can get educated on how to use performance analytics and what it does. And there's nothing like you talking to them before you give somebody keys to your car. Maybe you want to look at their license.
Dan, you have one that you flagged to answer live?
Yeah. Yeah. Amy Johnson asked about the possible for platform analytics features from a major release, from a family release, to get those prior to that release. And the example was that, as I think we kind of talked about a little bit, they're upgrading every other year. So they're saying, hey, if I'm going to wait till 2026 with Yokohama, do I need to, is there any way to get platform analytics capabilities that were released with Xanadu, for example? And it generally varies, but usually most of the features require you to be at a specific family release level. It is possible that sometimes we will retroactively make a feature available if it's in the store. I don't know, Marta or Olga, you guys, can you think? I can't think if
But
there's anyone specifically
I want to
that
clarify what
does
you
that.
said. When you go
Yeah,
when you go to Yokohama, you get everything that's in Xanadu, right? Everything always goes
yeah.
forward, which is one of the reasons we don't put stuff backwards sometimes. Um, but when you go to Yokohama, you will get everything in Xanadu. If you are on Washington, you probably will not get what's in Xanadu. There are store releases and they're backward compatible when they can, but particularly in platform analytics, there's almost always some platform change that comes through unless it's very, very, very standalone. Um, so it is something we're always looking at, but it depends, right? And every app that's in the store will tell you what version it requires. And it may even require a certain patch version with some of our Gen AI stuff right now. you need to be on the latest patch, not just on Xanadu, but Xanadu patch 3 or patch 4. And that's we test everything together at those family releases. We develop it all together. If you're just piecemealing in a certain package that comes in, we're not going to let you do it unless we've tested it and we know that it works. That's where it comes out. And as we innovate and add new things into the base platform, be wary, right? Go ahead and look at a store app and see what's compatible. But for me, I wouldn't expect it to be backward compatible for platform analytics.
I just want to make a general statement here too. It looks like there's a few questions that were actually entered into the chat, and just remind you that if you do want your question answered by our group of experts, please put it in the Q&A panel at the bottom of your screen. There should be a Q&A panel where you can ask a question.
Yeah,
We
thank you,
try
Dan.
to get to the ones in the chat, but there's no guarantee that we'll get to them.
So, Marty, you had a couple
Yeah, yes.
performance analytics
I
have only been managed by a few people. There's a concern now that everyone be able to access the new interface.
So I wanted to give clarity about the roles. So anybody will be able to access like the dashboards and the platform analytics library pages, like the dashboards and data visualization, the data that is shared, like the dashboards and the data visualization have specific permission set. So those, if you are sharing a dashboard to some specific users, that will still be able to access them also in platform analytics. The creation part, any user that has at least an internal role, they will be able to create platform analytics dashboards. Anybody that has a list, we have still kept the like report viewer and the viz creator role will be able to actually create the saved data visualization, at least for upgrading customers. That will be no impact on. We're still able to create saved data visualization, similar as you had the reports before. There is on creating the data visualization in platform analytics, it's more open on the data sources, but there is the possibility also to restrict to specific roles if you don't want specific users or like a huge amount of users to be able to create data visualization on top of indicators or on top of user experience analytics or metric base or any other data source that we support. So like for the creation instead of performance analytics artifacts, meaning indicators, jobs, breakdowns, all of those will still be tied to what we had before as the PA roles. So as Adam was saying, PA power users is usually the one that is able to create the artifacts itself, like the indicators, the jobs, and then a PA admin is actually the one that it's able to create all the content and all the artifacts regarding the indicators. The other question, so is could you say more about pro license is specific to platform analytics module? So platform analytics, it's divided into capabilities that are free of charge and that are part of the standard license, and capabilities that are part of the pro. So, for example, creating or visualizing dashboards and data visualization and creating filters and using those filters in the dashboard, that is all free of charge. And you can like create a data visualization on top of tables and on top of like indicators data. Creating new indicators or new breakdowns, as we had mentioned before, those are part of like pro licenses, as well as viewing insights. So like machine learning generated insights on our dashboards, as well as in the KPI details page, where like for specific indicators, those are all part of the pro license.
Okay, great. Thank you, Marta. Dan, let's just keep going with the roles question. I think you flagged one as well.
Yeah, let's see. I had a couple of here. So Yeah, I think you may have just talked about this, Marta, but there's the one question from Sarka about, is there any role needed for users to see dashboards and the visualizations inside within the platform analytics? Saying as compared to with performance analytics, there was a basic role called PA viewer. Does this so
Yeah, that's not
yeah,
needed anymore for platform
correct. Yeah.
analytics. The As long as you share that dashboard with the users, they will be able to see that dashboard. Then, of course, depending on the role, they are going to be able to see the data on those visualizations or not, because we always check like the access control based on the actual tables or the indicators that are displayed in those visualizations.
Mhm. Thanks, Marta. That's what I was thinking. So Sasi actually had a couple that were related to this. So once the migration is completed, will admins be able to create reports and dashboards in the same way they did previously? So it's a two-part answer. Yes, they'll be able to create reports and dashboards, but it's not in the same way. It's using the platform analytics interface. And we do have a couple of previous sessions on if we can we may try to tack that on. Certainly when we publish this, we can add on a couple of those links as well to the academies we've done on how you work with creating your content in the platform analytics environment. So yes, you can, but how you do it is a different interface.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dan.
And
I did have one here, and we may have to unmute John for this one, but I'm guessing he was saying we have large numbers of widgets, 5 to 7 digits, for example. Are there any plans to allow these to become separated, i.e., hundreds, thousands? I'm guessing he's talking about when you actually go to widgets in the platform itself and the way that they list out, but maybe we need to unmute him unless somebody else understands what he's talking about. Anybody?
Well, I will say we can unmute him, but as we go through, yeah, if you had a ton of PA widgets with you definitely would need to use the lookup name to tell the difference, but it'd still be a lot. In responsive dashboards, there I apologize for what I'm about to say, but the PA widgets, the table that controls those is syswidget or syswidgets. And you actually can create your own widget categories. And so I think you should be able to copy the PA widget ones and put them by my CSM ones, my ITSM ones, some filters that make sense. Now that doesn't carry over to platform analytics, which is what we're really talking about. So I don't know that I'd have to think about how we'd want to do that in platform analytics. It's very different because it's just data visualizations. And what do you do when you have 100,000 data visualizations? Hopefully we have fewer. But in responsive dashboards in the old world, you could create new widget categories. So categories we use today, reports and performance analytics, platform analytics. But you could create subcategories of those and show them to the appropriate people that only my CSM analytics people see the widget grouping of my CSM widgets. But John's on, so he can tell me that I'm completely talking about the wrong thing.
Are you there, John? You have been allowed to speak. Okay, maybe you can just comment if Adam's answer is what you were looking for in the Q&A.
I will say we have a KB or there's a blog post about custom interactive filters where we did it there because we created a block for custom interactive filters specifically that would have the example. I wouldn't invest a bunch of time in it because I'd rather focus my time on migrating and see if there is an issue with platform analytics, and particularly when you migrate, you'll see how it is. And if there is, it's something we can talk about. And I think we'd like to hear from you about those challenges and how we can organize those better. It's hard if you have 100,000 data visualizations on how you'd want to group them. So I think hearing from that would be helpful for us to make it better for you in the platform.
Yeah, and he just mentioned in the chat that it actually wasn't widgets, his mistake. It was the indicator counts. So, going back to when I actually showed the indicators that were in that list, I guess he was saying that there were a lot of those, and rather than it just being view 20, 50 or whatnot, I guess more than that or comma delimited is what he was talking about. So I don't know if there's any, Olga Marta, do you know if there's any customization that you can do to that indicator window when you actually go to indicators under platform analytics or to Olga.
The change of the indicator itself.
Well, just I guess to view how many, because he's saying that they have quite a few. What's he saying? We've been computing indicator scores that are very large when they render on a widget. They are not comma separate. Oh, it's just total. This is something even different.
Oh, this is the number. I'm showing the number 8 billion or 8G. And how do we format it?
So
If the number is very large and I
you
actually
have
thought they worked on this
on the
already.
data visualizations under the metric, when you configure that visualization under the metric configuration block, you have format settings. I think there's a button called format settings, and then you can enable abbreviation, and you can choose it the decimals and everything, so it will show like 8 point.
And
He
if you
keeps saying widget, so I don't know if he's talking about
Yeah.
previous to Platform Analytics either.
right, so if
it was by default abbreviated. The new one, I think by default is not abbreviated, but there's like an easy toggle settings to enable abbreviation.
and for that one, whether you may want to post in the community if you can, and somebody will be able to answer it specifically based off your screenshots, or you could submit a case if something's not if you think something's not working or it's really not displaying well, then it sounds broken to you. Then submit a case. If you're just, how do I want to make this better? Community might be the best place to post it. And talk and you want to just tag me, Thomas Davis. Just tag me, Thomas Davis, in there, and I will answer that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and if I'm missing ones that I'm being tagged in, I apologize. I will make sure that I get to that better.
I'll
And
give
well,
you a cell phone
it's just a
number.
general statement about posting questions regarding PA. So
Hey, for John, is that a new hand raise or is that one that's been there a
I think
while?
that's the one that's been there. His headset won't
Okay.
allow him to talk.
Okay,
So
I will lower. Yeah.
yeah.
So John, if that's incorrect, you can raise your hand again.
Well, he put the example in there that the number is not coming through, and we have. I think the question I have, we allow abbreviations, so he has the number 999,102. We definitely would do abbreviations, so we would just do 999,000. I would have expected it to include commas, like, per your number formatting preferences, right? Per your localization to come through. Not showing that. If you're getting that, I'm assuming that's a new widget because we would have done it. Put a case in and we'll take a look at what's going on. Hopefully it's something really small and we'll say, hey, flip this setting. But just to get out with your data and what's going on, I'd recommend putting a support case in.
Okay, great. Thank you, Adam. I'm just going to ask in general, in case anybody knows, for Platform Analytics dashboards, can we customize the owner versus owner group? Example, if we want to utilize an owner group and not have an actual owner, can we hide the owner?
You're not gonna be able to hide it from the UI, or at least I don't remember giving that option, but you can leave it empty. It's like, I believe you need to have or the owner group. I think we were like either or, but from the UI, it's not available to hide it.
So this one from Amy is, and this is probably, I don't know if there's a way to do this, but I'll go ahead and read it. But I have a filter on configuration items, which will be pointing at a table with 33 million records. I don't want the filter to pre-query the table. Instead, I want it to wait until the user begins to type the CI name before any query is performed against the database. Is there a way to configure the filter so it doesn't run any query until the user interacts with the filter? And I'm guessing, Adam, this would probably be this is probably a platform thing, right? I mean, it just has to do with fields and the way that a filter would work, no matter if you're looking at a table or anywhere else. It just kind of just starts, or because I guess they're asking for it to wait. Does that make sense?
I think I know what they're talking about. It seems to be, I thought I remembered that was something that was coming, but
Yeah,
I
I've heard
don't,
it talked about before, but I didn't know if it
yeah,
was.
as a feature. I don't know if
So
Marta or any of you.
well, the way that I do it, I've seen that, right? Where it's specifically what happens is all the data visualizations run the reports, right? With no filters, but I want to always require a filter. want to always require a filter. And so what I'll do is put a default in for the first load. And this has to do with responsive dashboards. I think it would carry over to platform analytics, but I know in responsive,
It will. It will.
I would default to a value that is probably nothing. To one specific CI or to everything. And that way, that first time I load that dashboard, it loads very quickly because it actually is just running it for a single thing. And everybody has to change it. But if it was blank, everybody would have to change it as well, right? It's like putting in the sysid of -1. It returns nothing very quickly. That's what I would do. And then the user will change it to what they want. And then the filters are all persistent. So once I've changed it, my first load, it's going to load to that one thing that I have to change. Then it's always going to come back to what I had it as, right? Or my URL was for. So the problem that I see most often of this is the first load of the dashboard. The first time Dan goes to the dashboard, it takes a little while to load because it's loading everything for every report. The filter's fine, but every report's coming through. And if I have a group by or something, it can be nasty. So I would default it to it's going to default to show Adam CIs, which is what nobody wants except for me, but it loads quickly. And then I can pick what I want. So I'd rather, if I'm going to get something that I don't want to see, I'd rather have that quickly so I can change it rather than nothing. And ideally, it's something that will return nothing or be something that everybody would know. In ServiceNow land, if I was going to pick something, I'd pick Fred Luddy. I'm going to show Fred Luddy's CIs or Bill McDermott. I'm going to show theirs. Everybody knows who it is, and everybody changes it and has a giggle. Be fine.
Thomas, can you unmute Emmy? I guess.
Sure, yeah, because I think we're asking about something.
Probably not responding
Yeah,
the right
because what Amy's talking about here, I think, is more of the autofill as I start typing from that list.
There's two Amy Johnsons. I don't know which one it is.
If there's 33 million records in my filter, I start typing ABC, and it will try to autocomplete the query. What I really want is the ability to type in like the entire word or something like that, and then say hit query.
Right, and that's why I thought it was more at the platform level, because wherever you're filtering on a table of data or something like that. But Amy, you're unmuted. You can please correct us if we're way off.
Yeah, so this is actually I joined using Amy's link, so she's the other Amy Johnson on here, but I work for Amy. So basically, it's a huge table. It's got tens of millions of records, and that's why it's annoying. So we don't want to apply a filter on what is available that would increase the performance or improve the performance, but we do want it to maybe not try to load everything, just like you're saying. We don't want it to load everything up before there's any interaction, because that's just going to make it worse for the user.
Yeah, and guys, it's not the visualization, it's the actual filter. So the filter itself, when you bring up the dashboard, right, it tries to populate that filter, and then, which I don't want it to do. It's going to have to populate it with 33 million records. I don't want that. I want it to not do anything until the user starts to type. And like, if I go to an incident record, right, and configuration item is on the incident form, it waits till I start typing. And then once I have a certain amount of typing in there, it goes in queries, and it works much better. On a dashboard, that filter never renders. I can't bring that dashboard up. So I want it to not do anything until the person actually starts typing in the filter. And then it's going to say, okay, I have some information. I'm going to go query the table. It's not the visualization itself, it's the filter.
So we don't have an option to not load anything, but there's a setting in the filter in Platform Analytics on the number of records for the lazy loading. So you can put this number very small. So it's like
that's awesome.
Load only 10. I think by default it's 1,000. It shouldn't load that 32 million or whatever. 1,000 is default if nothing is filled in, but maybe 1,000 is still too much for this table. So just put like 10 or something, and then hopefully it will be much faster.
But is this on responsive dashboards or Platform Analytics?
Platform Analytics, sorry.
Well, that's the new feature. We have the feature Platform Analytics, but in responsive dashboards, I don't know that there's a good option in the old interactive filters.
I'm like hoping then everybody moved already, but sorry.
I'll pull this up, right? So there are things in responsive dashboards that are not going to get fixed. I mean, we're not going to enhance responsive dashboards, but a lot of these kind of little things, they're not headlines that come through, but there's just so much that we fixed and improved and addressed concerns and requests and platform analytics that it's different, it's change. None of us like change, but it's better. It's just they're better. And if there's anything there's a gap, let us know. But we want to be in platform analytics.
The filter that we're building is in UI Builder in Platform Analytics, so we'll check for that.
Okay,
No,
good.
then it should be there. Then it should be there.
Yep.
By default, it should be like, I think it's 1000 by default. It has like, it says it in the tooltip, but it's one of the settings in the bottom of the filter configuration.
Okay, thank you.
So, Tara and Marta, I believe that you were both talking to Clara. So is this more of a confirmation or is it still a question?
I think there is only one question pending on the filters by class that Claire, I'm not sure if you want to highlight over here, but we have 2 minutes left. I will get some of the dev team also to double check on your question that you have.
Okay.
Claire
Yeah,
has posted already their question on the community. I have a link to that post, so I will get the dev team to double check.
All right, I'll just have her email me and then we can get her the answer. Okay, 2 minutes left. Dan, you're typing an answer. Here's another
Actually, I'll go ahead and just answer it because there's a question on if we do a selective dashboard migration, then reports, indicators, and filters in those will not be migrated. Two answers to that. Yes, if you migrate a dashboard selectively, it's just a partial migration. All of the content, whether that content is a filter, is a report, or whatever, that individual component will be migrated with it with that dashboard. However, it should not migrate, and again, Marta, correct me if I'm wrong, it should not migrate if that same report is used in on other dashboards that have not been migrated. Is that correct, Marta?
So for the partial migration, we are actually, as of now, so till Yokohama, we are not migrating the reports or the PA widgets or the filters into the saved library. So they will be migrated as part of the dashboard, but they are not going to be in the library and reusable. We are looking at possibly changing this in Zurich timeframe. And actually doing a check if you are migrating a dashboard that as a report that is used in multiple dashboards, then we are also going to migrate that report into the saved library. We want to avoid migrating reports or PA widgets to the library or filters that are not used across other dashboards. So we are gonna kind of reduce the number of the reports that are saved and hopefully also reducing the pollution into the library itself.
Okay, great. Thank you, Marta. Dan, you're typing that last one, so I'm
Yeah,
gonna
just a
close
question,
this out.
just a question on adding new filters, and that you can add new filters like a created by or created by group. You can add those at any time. Those are just things we just give a certain number of breakdowns and filter definitions available by default, but you can always add to that list. You can, anything that's a reference field, I can say that I want to filter by that field, or if it's a indicator, you can say you can create a breakdown against that field. So if you're talking about incidents created by, you can absolutely filter by that. But that's something that you would need to create.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we are a little bit over, so let's kind of close this out real quick. So, panelists, thank you for being here. Some have already jumped off other meetings, but really appreciate everyone coming. Obviously, make sure that you utilize in the community. I talked about that a little bit earlier. And then, of course, let's see. What sessions we have, I'll be updating today with we know what our next two are, and we're scheduling some more, but I'll have that updated today. Utilize Now Learning, ServiceNow or ServiceNow Learning, and just search for analytics, and there are a lot of different trainings that you can take. Obviously, we still have our Platform Analytics Enablement Toolkit, which, if you're now in it, will help you learn how to create, share, all kinds of things, what is, before and after, things of that nature. And again, in 2 weeks, we will have Platform Analytics Accelerators Academy. So please tune in for that. And with that, thank you. Sorry we went over by 2 minutes. We're happy that everybody was able to come. Happy New Year again, and we'll see everybody in 2 weeks. Thank you.